Do you guys think I should be worried? I'm literally on fire!
Hello?
Who'll pay for this, Krabs?
My bandmates, you know, two of my three bandmates who are in the U.S., you know, we grew up together in Branchburg Township in Somerset County, and so we've been friends for a really long time, and that's made collaborating easy. Or we sort of all clicked into the same vibe for the music, and when push comes to shove, I think we have a certain catchphrase in our like group chat, which is like "trust my vision," and I know that sounds kind of weird because that sounds more like monarchical, right? And again, we sort of respect each other as musicians and songwriters, and so sometimes like, hey, like, let me try this part, or like you know, and we humor each other at least, you know. It's like, okay, like, I want to hear your idea. You know, Jeff, my bandmate, is right in Somerville, and he's the one with, you know, he's the one doing most of the music production up front. That then Matt and Vic and I are sort of like writing, you know, vocals for that, and sometimes contributing other instrumentation.
So how much of musical inspiration you have, and how much of working together is escaping somewhere or trying to get to a new location? Like when you work musically, is that this is my escape away from things, or is it an intentional journey to somewhere else? Like,
I love that question. And it's not one I've gotten before. I think that with this project, for me, it's definitely the latter. It's about getting somewhere. I'm not in a need, you know, to escape per se. I have my, like, you know, gripes like anybody does, and I have my maybe insecurities like anybody does, but for me, like, you know, this project is that we're first and foremost wanting to have fun, right? And that's not because my daily life isn't fun enough and I need to have fun over here. It's more like, wouldn't it be interesting, wouldn't it be a little audacious to write and sing like this for a change? Like, for me, I'm with this project, I'm doing something differently from what I've done with other musical projects before. And
word and lyric person who thinks in lyrics, and there's the rhythm who kind of thinks in rhythm music, and it's the chicken or the egg, which kind of comes first and informs the other. And is there kind of a predictable pattern that falls into for you, or when you,
So with the great question, I mean, so for this project, you know, the music is coming first for the most part before vocals are written. It just so happens, and therefore, in the very least, sort of the overall rhythm seems to be coming first for the most part. I'm not sure if will always, you know, continue to write in that way, because I just, for whatever reason, I've always been one to sort of like remember songs, be able to recite songs, and it's the melody that makes the lyrics like memorable to me.
Do you find it's more important to you, or do you tend to err on one side or the other, where you find that you're more focused on trying to express truths or truth statements that you've experienced in life, or truisms, or do you find yourself sometimes bringing somebody else to one of their truths? Are you kind of declaring things to people, or are you providing them a space for their own discovery, kind of, lyrically?
Yeah. In my experience, in my history as a songwriter, I would say I'm more on the former side. I would say a lot of my older, you know, songs were political in nature, and where I was trying to sort of communicate something that I believed in. With this project, it's not really that. I would say with the songs that I've written for Night Leather so far, it's much more about like a feeling. It's much more about a vibe that begins and ends with how I'm connecting to the music, right? And so I'm using that to inform it.
Okay. So is that similar to or different from your process with voice acting?
Oh, good question. So it is kind of similar to that process, because you know, it might start with, you know, a single like line or word that I'm say in a certain like character-y voice, because I'm most interested in voiceover for animation, which you might be able to tell by having looked at, you know, my Instagram profile.
Wood on Fire one.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, it was one of the most exciting moments of my life was having my friend send me that, you know, because she had made this little video with these characters, and you know, I sent her some ideas for the voices because we were thinking about, you know, collaborating in this way or that way, and she was like, well, here, I already had this like character, here's what it would look like, you know, with your voice. And it just so blew my mind, because I've been watching cartoons since I was a kid, and I will never grow out of that, you know. Yeah, maybe a good example of that would be like part of certain character voices that I started doing, which like sort of got me interested in voice acting in the first place, which were two like character voices for a book or series of books that I read to my son. That a lot of parents will know. It's like the Elephant and Piggy books. Those two voices, I guess, where there's like a certain interplay between them, where, you know, one just is like snarkier, has like a certain kind of like attitude, and the other one is just like more unassuming and more like softer. I don't know how to exactly. Yeah, one's harsher and one's like softer, and I could not ever see doing like reversing those roles for those voices. All of my like creative efforts come back to being sort of about, you know, connecting with other people through like common experience or common feeling, if that makes sense. Perhaps part of it is that like we don't consider ourselves just this or just that band. We're not like, oh, this is our like goth, you know, album or whatever, because it's not just that. We're sort of like delving into or incorporating this or that musical technique or style or genre or vibe to tell the story of whatever it is. Not necessarily a narrative story that comes off in the lyrics, but that is sometimes the case, in order to sort of connect the dots and you know, share put that vision together for the song, if that makes sense. Like it's all in service of the song, like so, and it's how we could, I guess, wind up having these couple of albums that I think some people would listen to and think don't sound terribly cohesive, or like, oh, how is this song on the same album as this song, or whatever like that. But for us, it is cohesive. For us, they are sort of in the same vein, even when they're sort of very different genre-wise, and not even just because, oh, the same person's singing lead on this one, not at all. Just maybe because it's all drawing on the same like bed or collection of influences, some of which we share, some of which are like particular to the individual members who are contributing writing on the project. And yeah, I mean, when you do write a song, when you're successful, however you define that, when you're successful in writing a song, when you think you've done it in the most conscious way, you know, was that deliberate, or were you following where your inspiration or where your muse or where that idea like led, you know?